Okay, here's part 2 on rebuilding the top end of the Honda NSR 125, and I've got the engine out of the video, got the engine out of the bike for this video. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because it's good because I can show you a lot better. You know, it's outside, it's bright, but it's quite bad because it's a lot easier to do it with the engine out, and it's going to be harder for you. First of all, what we want to do is you want to get your new piston kit. Unfortunately, see, this is Chinese as well, even though it came from the UK. The only reason I bought it was because the picture was off a different piston. It was like square, and I knew it wouldn't. The picture wasn't a Chinese one, but the rings in this one seem a bit different, so hopefully it doesn't break. You want to check you've got everything. First you're going to get the rings out, and you're going to check, I'm not sure what it's called, but you're going to put it in here, put it in quite flat. You'll need 2 hands to do it, and then I'll put it in and then I'll get back. Okay, I've put it in this end because it was easier, and you want it to be as square as possible, so you want there to be the same amount of gap all the way around from the top, so this thing is as close together as it can be. And then you're going to want to take, I think it's called a feeler gauge, I'm not quite sure, but it's one of these, and there's loads of little sheets of metal, all different thicknesses, and you're going to want there to be, I think it's a minimum of 0.25 millimeters and a maximum of 0.5. So here's the 0.25 there. We'll take this out and put the other ones back. And you're going to feel for the gap between right there. And right now the gap's not big enough, it's not 0.25, sorry. So what I'm going to need to do is file it down a bit. And you need to do this because the rings expand when they're hot, and that will probably get closer together. And yeah, you can look it up why you have to do it, but you just do. So, and you should file going away from the rings. Hang on. I think you should file coming towards you from here, so you don't create any burrs on the outside which will scratch the cylinder wall. Instead it will scratch the piston, if it does at all. So just use the file and pull it towards you. I'm going to, I'll try and do it in the lower bit as well, so that bit there, as well as the top bit. And you've got to keep doing that until it's at least 0.25 and no more than 0.5 millimeters. You might want to check those measurements, but that's off the top of my head from last time. Okay, now after filing a bit, a 0.3 will now fit in, 0.3 millimeters. There we go. Well, it fits in fine anyway. 0.3. So now I'm going to do the same for the other row, and then we can put them on after that. I've now filed down both rings, and now we can put them on. The thing is, sometimes if you have once this happened to me, I had cheap rings. Oh, it was a cheap piston, and the rings which came with it were awful, and they snapped when you put them on. But even with good rings, you still have to be careful while you put them on, because you can damage them if you stretch them too much, and even snap them if you're not careful. So what you'll do is you'll put it over onto one ring, and then you'll move it over down one slot, and then you move it over along down to the bottom slot. So I can't do it with one hand. I'll see if I can put the camera somewhere. Hopefully you can see this. What I'm going to do. Oh shit. Can you see that? I just dropped the piston and out. Cheap metal, that's why. I try and slot it in there bit of the way, and then go around stretching it a little bit more and making sure it goes in. Oh God. Making sure it goes in all the way down here. Alright, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. First ring on. Just about. See if we can move it around so the pin's in the right place here. There we go. Moves around fine now. At least. It doesn't seem to want to compress though. Maybe the ring's too thick or something. I can't compress it. And I'll move it over onto the ring, into the slot below. So I'm just gonna. Alright, I've slid it over, then I think if you slide it round, if you can. That's it, I'm pushing up on I'm pushing on the top ring and it's sliding round the bottom ring into place. Just keep pushing it around. And yeah, it's down now. Onto the bottom ring. There we go. Yeah, it's fine here, it compresses fine. I also forgot to mention, because it's not important really, well for me, but if you've got any markings on the top of the side of any of the rings, then you put it facing upwards. I'm pretty sure that's the case anyway. So say there's any writing here, or like a shape or anything on the ring, you put it facing upwards. It might be down, but you should check it. Now I'm just going to put the other ring on. Yeah, I guess I'll film it. Try to do it quick. Oh, never mind. It's the same as I did it the first time. Alright, I've now pushed the pin through with the bearing on. It's fine. Moves around fine. But, now I just put the circlips on. So when I was talking about the pins facing the intake, I'm on about these locating pins here. One there and one there. Not sure why you can see it. Right there in the middle. Yeah, they should be facing the intake side. Now I just put the circlip on and I'll show you. what it looks like after it's on. I use pliers to do it because they've got a little bit you can hold. So finally, a few hours later, I've put the piston ring on. I had to sand it down a lot so it would fit in. Yeah, it took absolutely ages. It's been really boring. But now once you've got both rings on, you're going to want to get the small end bearing, and you probably want to put some 2-stroke oil on it and then put it in the conrod in there, and then you're going to get the piston, make sure the locating pins are facing towards the intake, which is here, and then you're just going to put it over the top, and then you'll get the piston pin, put a load of oil on this, 2-stroke again, and then put it in through there, and then in through the small end bearing. And then once you've done that, you'll put the piston pin clips on, which here, just these clips, and they'll go on the outside. So I can't really film it. Well, I can't be bothered to set up the camcorder in the right position. But just put a load of 2-stroke oil on there, and put this on with the pins coming towards the intake side. And then put a load of 2-stroke oil on here and push it through, so it goes through both at the same time, so it lines up like that. And then I'll show you again putting the circlips on. So once you put the circlips in, you need to make sure that it's either facing down or up, so the gap is either at the top or at the bottom. You don't want the gap to be in the side. And if the piston pin's not going, if these clips aren't going in, you need to make sure that the pin's in all the way, because sometimes the pin doesn't go in all the way, and you're trying to put in the clip and it can't go in because the pin's in the way. And you also need to make sure that the clips are in all the way, and that they're not going to come loose, like that happened before in this bike, and messed up the cylinder. Yeah, that's it. Now you just need to put the head on. There might be a bit too much play here, but I don't care. I care enough to change it. Now this is the hard part, putting this on over the rings. It's going to be pretty easy for me compared to you, because it's really hard to do with the engine in the bike. You can see I've pretty much done it here. I've done the hard part of getting the ring, getting the cylinder barrel over the rings, so it's pretty much on now. What I usually do is I put the exhaust half on of the ring first, and then the intake side, so I kind of do it in half, just like tiny bit slanted like that, so this bit goes over the ring first on the exhaust side. Okay, after you've put the cylinder barrel, put it down, you can just put on the nuts. You do them up in a crisscross pattern. So you could start off with, say, this one, then you go to that one, and then you maybe go over to that one, and then back to that one, and then that one, and it's back again. Until they're all done up to the proper torque, which is, I think it's like 22 Newton, or maybe a bit less, I don't know. You can see it in the manual. Or you can put the head on before that. You can put the head on the top to cover it over. You don't really need to put all this oil like I've put in, but it's not going to do any harm if you do put it in. It's just mine was a bit stiff and it's sticking, because the head's been off the engine for so long, and the barrel as well, and the conrod bearings, I don't know. They were fine the other day, but just today they've been stiffened up. Let's put all that in there, that's fine. I also put the engine on the floor just because when you do these up it can be quite tight, and it's quite smooth on here and the engine was just spinning around. so here I can at least put my foot on it or something. You shouldn't have that problem with the engine in the bike though. Yeah, so now I'll probably just put the head on just to cover it up and stop a load of dirt, like flies or whatever flying in, and just to keep it clean in there like it's supposed to be. So before I put the head back on, I'm just going to get my new gasket, which is this one here, new head gasket, and here's my old one, and I'm just going to make sure I put it in the right way. So I'm going to line this up here with the old one, which actually has a writing on it saying the way it's supposed to go in, just in and up. So I'll line this up here, these 3 dots here, with these 3 dots here, and you can see it doesn't line up, so I need to flip it over, and then now see it lines up, and it's the right way it goes in, and now I just need to put it down. Yeah, and now it's in the right way because there's 2 holes there. Yeah, just double checking it's in the right way. It is. Now I can go ahead and put the head on. Mine's a bit dirty because I never cleaned it. Oh, fuck's sake. It was oily, but I just cleaned it a bit now. Yeah, on one hand. Probably okay. There isn't much I can do. Let's just scratch the paint off. It's not too bad. Put it on. I've left the thermostat, I think that's what it's called, or thermistor. I think it opens up when it gets to a certain temperature. I've left that in the shed. This is pretty much it. Again, here you do these up in a crisscross pattern. But there's not really much more for me to do in the video, so I think I'll stop it here. Just do these up in a crisscross pattern, torquing them up evenly, and then once you've done this, put all the connectors on and put the actually I'll film me putting back on the RC valve and everything and all the covers once it's in the engine.